Now let's look at some more difficult problems of solving quadratic equations by completing a square. So the first example let's look at solving 2x squared minus 10x plus 3 is equal to 8. So the first step that you want to do is you want to isolate x squared plus bx. So then we're going to subtract 3, and then we're going to factor a 2 out. And at this step, you're going to complete the square, right? So that's the first step, and the next step is you're going to complete the square. And the way that you complete the square is that you take the b is equal to minus 5, and you're going to half it, or multiply by 1/2, so that's minus 5 halves. And then you're going to square that, so that's 25 over 4. Now if you add 25 over 4 to this side, you need to add 25 over 4 to this side, but this isn't really 25 over 4, it's really 25 over 4 times 2. So that's 25 over 4 times 2 over 1, or 25 over 2. Just going to add 25 over 2 there. So you get 2x squared minus 5x plus 25 fourths is equal to, and here we're going to need to add fractions. So I like to do that over the side. That's 5 plus 25 halves. The common denominator is 2. So that's 10 halves plus 25 halves, that's 35 over 2. And then the third step is you're going to factor. So let's factor this, and then that's x. Now that's going to be hard to factor, except for it's always just half of what b is. So b here is minus 5, so it's just going to be half of minus 5, so it's minus 5 halves. And now the fourth step, once you factor it, is just solve. So that's going to be, you're going to divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2. And that becomes x minus 5 halves squared is equal to 35 over 4. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take the square root of both sides. And whenever you take the square root of both sides, you're going to add your plus or minus. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this first. That's plus or minus the square root of 35 over 2. And then the last step is you're just going to add 5 halves to both sides. So it's 5 halves plus or minus the square root of 35 over 2. So the key is that although it's a more difficult problem than we did before, the steps are still the same. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to isolate x squared plus bx. And that's what we did up until this point right here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to complete the square. Then you're going to factor. And then you're going to solve. Let's look at one other problem that's a little tricky. Steps are the same. It's just a little more difficult problem. Let's go 3x squared minus 11x plus 2 is equal to 0. So first thing is isolate x squared plus bx. So you have 3x squared minus 11x is minus 2. And then you're going to factor a 3 out. X squared minus 11 thirds x. And now what you're going to do is you're going to complete the square. So here it's minus 11 thirds. You're going to half it or multiply by 1/2, so that's a minus 11 over 6. And then you're going to square that. Minus 11 6 squared is going to be 121 over 36. So here you're going to add 121 over 36. Why is it adding? Because when you square a negative, you get a positive number. Now here you're going to add the same thing, except for this is really not 121 over 36, but 121 over 36 times 3. 121 over 36 times 3, those cancel, and it becomes 121 over 12. So here we're going to add 121 over 12. And I'm just going to rewrite everything now. That's 3 x squared minus 11 thirds x plus 121 over 36 is equal to, and I need to add these two fractions. So that's minus 2 over 1 plus 121 over 12. The common denominator is 12. That's going to be minus 24 plus 121. So that's going to be 97. Let's just make sure. It's important enough sometimes to use a calculator. 121 minus 24 is 97 over 12. Now I'm going to factor. Although this looks really hard to factor, it's really just going to be x and then half of minus 5 thirds. So this is minus 11 thirds. So half of minus 11 thirds is 11 thirds times 1 half, which is minus 11 sixths. And that's all the factoring is. So sometimes a problem that looks really hard is not too hard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 3, or rather than multiplying by 3, we can, dividing by 3, we can multiply by 1/3. And we get x minus 11 sixths squared is equal to 97 over 36. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. X minus 11 sixths is equal to plus or minus the square root of 97 over 36. I'm going to simplify that, and I get plus minus square root of 97 over 6, and then I'm just going to add 11 sixths to both sides. And my final answer is 11 sixths plus or minus square root of 97 over 6. And I'm going to think just for a second, can I simplify square root of 97? No, I can't. So that's how you solve quadratic equations, by completing the square.